All right, guys, we are live here at FNGO. It is time for the lunch break, our little daily midday podcast, where we join with you guys, hopefully to make your day go by a lot faster, a lot smoother, kind of give you that little break in the middle of the day, just to take your mind off of work or whatever it is you got going on. So appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure whether you're watching on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, like and subscribe. That means a lot to us. Kind of helps us out. What's up, Coleman? How you feeling today? Hope everything is getting back to normal with you. And we'll give it a few minutes for everybody else to kind of jump on with us. How's the knee, Coleman? How's the knee? Got a couple of things we want to throw out there real quick before we get started with the conversation. I want you guys to remember a couple of things locally here in the North Georgia area. The Sester Benefit Tournament put on by Fishers of Hope. That is this Saturday on Lake Notley going out of the Devers ramp. $100 entry fee. They're going to have food and raffle after the weigh-in. This is for the Sester family. It's a family of 5. Got a couple of really young boys. Lost everything in a house fire recently. So I want to help them out. So definitely, if you can, go fish it. And if you cannot, get with me. I'll figure out a way to get you in touch with the guys at Fisher Hope. If you just want to make a donation, we can do that. What's up, everybody? Also, too, y'all keep LJ with Lanier Bates. Kind of any thoughts of mine if you still feel kind of led to help out with him after his heart attack and everything that's going on. The GoFundMe is still up, and you still can participate in that. And again, anytime you can give or do anything like that for your fishing community or anybody, it makes you feel a whole lot better about things. So tonight on the live well, a couple of things. We're going to talk about old school fishing as if we're going to recreate that the live scope has never happened and how we would be fishing right now. Ryan Sheffield's going to be in the house with us, Clint and Alex. Just kind of a fun thought with things. What's up, Josh Taylor and John G? I see all you guys, Doug, John, Tyler, all you guys joining us right there. Speaking of, Josh, I want you guys to go follow Groove Fishing on Instagram and Facebook. I put out a post on both of those today. Guys, if you want to get this jig box, this big jig box that you've seen us talk about right here, you can pre-order it. We've been talking about this box a lot. They'll be here in a couple of weeks, but they're going to go quick. So if you want one, you better get on there, go to groovefishing.com and pre-order. They got a lot of other great things that we're going to be discussing, but I want you to follow those pages and you can keep up with the latest right there. So there's a picture of Kevin Underwood on there, which he had on the live well the other night, but it's a picture of him in his jig box. I'm telling you, just the way you can organize everything, it's just awesome. So, but hey, they're going to go quick, guys. I mean, they're going to go quick. This first shipment coming in, so you better get on there and get it now. Okay, better get on there and get it now. Randy B might tune in tonight. He might. What's up, Fred, Doc, Stephen? Man, I tell you what. I saw the news today too. This just crossed my mind as well about those two young elk hunters out there. I think it was Colorado, Idaho. I don't know, but they ended up getting struck by lightning. They had been missing, and I was like, man, that is awful. That is awful. Got caught up in a bad storm. Kind of made me think about how many times we've done that on a boat or something. We've just been blessed and lucky to not get hit by lightning, to not have it be around us. I know a lot of us have had some close calls, but still, I feel for those families and all that, but just, they were out scouting or hunting or whatever it was that they were doing, and they just got caught in by nature. I don't know how many times I've gone out there knowing I probably shouldn't have been out there. And, man, I hate to hear that news. I mean, it brings some closure to the family, but still hate to hear that news. Casey Weaver's watching from the truck, driving the fam back from vacation. Well, there you go. Hopefully your drives on vacation were a lot better than ours. I know when my kids were younger, my wife would not own anything but a Ford Expedition or a Chevy Suburban. We had to have those 3 rows, all that. We had to get the kids all the way in the back. And of course, we ended up carrying everybody's kids to football games and all that. But we had to have that. So I hope your car is very good, very big. Or at least your kids' mine a lot better than mine. Are we there yet, Alcoholic? 100%. I would drive mine crazy because I would throw on the Van Halen or some 80s rock. That would shut them up real quick. So, Tom, Oh, let me read this, Stephen. Chad Carter, how you doing, buddy? Extremely wary of lightning. Plastic and lightning do not mix well. Lightning don't mix well with anything, for sure, Stephen. And hey, listen, Tom, you're watching on Facebook. I was going to do it today, but probably we'll start tomorrow. We're going to go back to, we're mulling it over. Might just be YouTube only again because, you may just be honest. I'm transparent. When we do the lives, we don't make a dime on Facebook. I don't know why. We make money on videos and stuff, but we don't make a dime. And I know we're kind of weighing, hey, let's give some of you guys the opportunity that don't do YouTube and all that, but I don't know. We're going to decide, if I'm just being honest. I don't want to lie to nobody about that. It's a King cab truck. That's big enough. Big enough. I got caught on the river last year in a bad storm, had to make a run for a sandbar, then into the woods. I think rods standing up in a kayak might be lightning rods. Well, yes, but I've also heard that standing under a tree during a thunderstorm ain't no better. I don't know. I think I will say that the best 30 minutes of fishing that I ever had in a tournament was in an electric only tournament that Josh and I were fishing up on Yahula Reservoir or Zwerner, whatever they want to call it, up in Dahlonega. And it was an afternoon and a big thunderstorm came up. Now, this is when we first got going. We first got going in electric only fishing. We were in my Alumacraft 1436. We're in an aluminum boat out there on Zwerner. Big thunderstorm came up. Everybody else went under the bridge or they ditched it and got in their cars. The fish were biting. Boy, we stayed out there and we were just going. And not the smartest thing that we've ever done. Ever. Danny, when you see Mark Badham again, ask him about his lightning experience. It's crazy. May see him this afternoon. Generally, when he comes up on Tuesday night. So maybe I'll see him and I'll definitely ask him about it. It wasn't smart. It wasn't smart at all. But man, them fish, listen, for 30 minutes, them fish were absolutely just crushing it. And the second that the storm passed, our bite just stopped. The traveling fisherman. Hey, y'all checking in from Missouri. Man, from Alaska to Missouri, buddy. That's a big jump right there. Moist Donut, I'm listening from the MIS. From the MIS, so Mississippi? Or what is the MIS, Moist Donut? Coleman, I always feel sketchy being under a metal dock roof and lightning to me. Well, listen, I remember when I was younger, my dad and my grandfather were playing ping pong in our basement. And it was just a block basement that they had finished in and all that. My dad was right next to the window. And lightning struck outside, but I guess there was just enough juice to pop him or something. Or it could have been the Miller Lite. I don't know, one of the two. But he went on the ground just whooping and hollering for a second. Now, again, that, lucky it wasn't direct hit or nothing like that. Tyler said, let's see, this summer me and Jack had to make a beeline for the truck when the heavens opened up and bolts started cracking while we were trout fishing. Had no idea it was supposed to storm. Lots of times that's the way a thunderstorm is. They can say, hey, we got a chance. I've been on the other side of Latham. If you know Latham, it's got one boat ramp, and it's on one end of the lake, kind of like Hickory Log, and I was on the far end doing a little afternoon fishing with my brother-in-law and my son. I remember the storm rolling over, hearing it coming, but thinking that I could outrun it back. It was upon us as fast as I've ever seen one get upon us. We couldn't outrun it. In fact, the wind was blowing, electric only, remember that. The wind was blowing us faster than my motor could push us. It was lightning all around. I had my boy was 9 years old at the time. My wife is across the street and she's trying to text me, but there's not much service on Latham. Needless to say, when I got Trey home, boy, she was mad. Well, she was like firecracker mad, man. She was ready to go. And but I remember at one point, Latham was kind of white capping, but I look back and my brother-in-law's off the back of the boat and he's humming it out. He is throwing that chatterbait or something as we are going. He wasn't going to let it stop him. But I see Pontoon Jody over there on TikTok. Hey, I watched that video last night of you getting your hair caught in your reel. Quite entertaining. Looked very painful. Not sure how you did it, but you might want to get you a ponytail, I think. You guys need to go watch that. Go on TikTok, look up Pontoon Jody. And sure enough, she wasn't lying yesterday. She goes to set the hook, reels a couple of times, and her hair goes whoop right in there. And then the fish is pulling down, and she's trying to figure out how to get her hair out while keeping the fish on and everything. It was very, very entertaining. No, Moist Donuts in the middle of the river. MIR, so not MIS, middle of the river. Good for you, dude. That's awesome. Cam, when we were in the Gulf, we had some huge water spouts pop up about 100 yards away from us. Crazy sight to see and definitely sketchy 30 miles out. Yeah, now 30 miles out's the key on that. It ain't like you're right there at the beach. You got nowhere to run when you're 30 miles out. So, Danny, you've never claimed to be smart. We've all done it, so it's just not you. No, I'm not smart. Actually, I thought I was being smart because the fish were biting. And I'm like, we're going to win this tournament right here. And we ended up like 10th or something. I think there was 11 boats. There were some trees down the way home, and for a minute we couldn't see out the windshield due to the rain. That's Tyler talking about them when they were trout fishing. Well, I remember when the tornadoes come across, it wasn't last summer, summer before, whatever, a couple years ago, we were sitting here in this building right here, and it got black, and we had these flags outside. And, man, all of a sudden one of the flags just shot straight up in the air, just straight up in the air. And the windows here, if you've ever been in the shop, we get these big windows, and they were bouncing. And they were down trees to where people that were on this stretch of road were trapped. And we didn't have no power for like I think it was 96 hours we were out of power and all that. But that's the one time that I've been in wind enough to just see trees just, breaking. We were fishing. So we weren't fishing. We were at the fishing shop. So maybe it's relatable. But, yeah, no, seriously, you guys think about that. Just because I'm two young kids, we need to think about it because we are often out on the lake, out on the water, or hunting, and a storm comes up, and we try to seek a little bit of shelter. Yeah, John Aldred Fishing was here that day that storm came over. And he can tell you, I'm not exaggerating. That was a doozy. That was a doozy. And luckily for us, there were some batos in a van out there. And I guess, they didn't want to wait. So the traffic was blocked. There was a big tree down here, a couple 100 yards crossing the road. This road beside us, it was blocked and all that. Well, our Hispanic buddies had a chainsaw with them, and boy, they just cut all the way out to 575 so everybody could get home. It was a sight to see. They took care of it. Justin Ortiz, how you doing? What's up, guys? A little late, but glad to be here. Y'all have a good one. Yeah, we're gonna have a good one. Good one today, all day. Doc Holiday, what's the river levels looking like up your way? Fred Ashcraft would like to know. Helen was the worst storm I've experienced. Oh, Helene. When I see that, I think of Helen right up here. Helen, Georgia. It's Oktoberfest too, boys. If you've never been to Oktoberfest in Helen, Georgia, you need to go. That's all I'm going to say. Highly recommend it. Especially if you like German beer. Red Radar at night, Fisherman's Delight, Sarah Ward said. Yeah, listen. There's something to be said about some inclement weather that just kicks fishing up sometimes. I know I've had a lot of guys say that if you're on Lake Lanier and it is windy and snowy and cold, that for some reason the spots go crazy. Spotted bass, some of the best spotted bass days these guys have ever had have been with snow or snow flurries, cold wind like that. Alex Purrs is here. Dude, are you still on the water? John, when John was here, because I followed that landscape crew all the way down to 575. They saved us from spending the night at the shop. Yeah, it took me I can be home. If I leave right now, I can be home in less than like 8 minutes, maybe 9. It took me 2 hours and probably 2.5 hours to get home that night. And that's honestly literally 8 minutes away because you had to go through all the main roads were blocked. And you just had to really snake your way through some of these back roads, but there was stuff down everywhere. I can't imagine if I was out there fishing or hunting and something like that hit. Alex says he's catching a mess out of them today. So, Alex, are you catching them on top water? Are you catching them on the bottom? How are we catching fish today? And I'm going to assume you're at Latham. Maybe. You let me know right there. What's up, Gone Fishing with Ed? Hey, congrats. I want to make sure I said congrats. I've always caught them good on Lanier when it's windy as hell and brutally cold. Yeah. Mom said, man, you should see the path the tornado left. We had a couple months ago after it hit the ground and stayed on the ground for an hour. Now, we never had, around here, it came right across here. And anybody's familiar with the Lakeland area, Hammond's, I can be at Hammond's Fishing Center 30 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, if that long. And it actually went right over here, just broke every power pole going down Yellow Creek Road, and basically just beeline straight. Didn't stay on the ground the entire time. But it ended up hitting Hammond's boat storage, I believe, which is right beside the shop right there. So that's how bad it was. And then, of course, if Jonathan Farmer gets on here, he works for Amicalola EMC. Bless them guys' hearts. Bless their hearts. That was a tough one. We had crews from all over up here just trying to fix power poles, and Yellow Creek Road's a 3-phase like that feeds us. But I know it was during the middle of summer, and it was 96 hours without power. And I'm not going to bitch, because those guys were out there working in the heat of the day all day long, just running shifts and working through the night. They are some of the unsung heroes we have, here in America, is actually the power guys. Now, I know generally I like to tease the guys because there's one up there in the box working, and there's 5 down here looking at them. But the reality is, I've been explaining, there's actually a reason, and there's a job for each one of those guys to do if X, Y, Z happens and all that. So I always tease them like that. But still, no, when it comes to ice storm, thunderstorms, tornadoes, stuff like that, those guys right there, I tell you what, hats off to them. That they're definitely underpaid, if you ask me. Underpaid. Speaking of home, been running your road all morning. There you go. Smallies go crazy in the snow and wind. Smallmouth do. Okay, interesting. Steven said, that doesn't say much for your company if people are willing to follow a road clearing crew for 5 hours rather than spend the night in your company. Listen, let me just say this, Steven. All we had here was beer and maybe like a Pop-Tart or something to eat. And John, he's got his lovely wife at home. You could have me and Ryan, which Ryan will be our guest tonight. You could stay the night with me or Ryan in what is possibly a haunted building with no power, so no running water, a couple of lukewarm beers and a Pop-Tart, or you go 5 hours behind a landscape crew and just try to get to your house. I would recommend the 5 hours. Not that Ryan and I ain't cool, but this is not the place to be when there ain't no power, for sure. Was it Hammond's boat storage place all tore up? I think it got the roof of that place. So it did have some damage for sure. Doc Holliday, it was a 5.5 at, he's talking about the levels. So there you go. Fred Reed, Doc Holliday, that's the level of the river that he's on. Jeremy Conkright went across 3 counties and jumped points across the lake. Yeah. Oh, no, Purrs is on Lake Lanier. Okay. And so now, Alex, knowing what you just told me, Alex, let's talk a little bit about etiquette. And he'll probably talk a little bit about tonight. Alex got cut off this morning. He's in a kayak on Lake Lanier. And he was headed, and we'll get all the details later tonight, but I know this much. He was headed to a specific spot, and an electric-only boat saw him going to that spot because there is an electric-only tournament on Lanier this weekend. Somebody's Classic, now that you gave me that information. And they basically ran and cut him off just because he's in a kayak. You definitely could tell he was headed that way. They saw him headed that way. I guess they had intentions of fishing it, and they decided, hey, we're going to beat him to it. Come on, guys. If you're just pre-fishing, have some, come on. Just have a little bit of etiquette out there. I don't remember that storm, but I remember Hammond's being torn up. Yeah, I read that. Let's see. Beer and Pop-Tarts are all you need. Well, we didn't have enough for 3. Why do I say it's haunted? Because everybody else says this building's haunted. I have never experienced it, with the exception of one time being down in the basement. When we're down in the basement, we don't have cameras and nothing like that looking up here. So if somebody comes in, the only way you know somebody comes in, a customer or something, is you can hear it because it's old wood floor. This building was built in 1920 something. One time was downstairs, and I thought somebody was walking up top. So I yelled, I'll be there in a second. And I come running up the stairs, and there wasn't nobody. I did not see a ghost. I do not know that it's haunted, none of that stuff. I just know that one day I thought I heard somebody walking up here. It could have been the wind could have been blowing and it could have been cracking. I don't know. But there have been other people that have come in here and said that this building is haunted, which would be pretty cool because sometimes I'm here late at night by myself after a podcast or, as long as it's like a friendly ghost, I don't mind. I don't want nobody picking up fishing rods and beating me with it. But, if there's a friendly ghost in this building, cool. We can coexist. I have no problem coexisting with ghosts as long as I know they're there. Now, if they're the kind that's walking behind me, just kind of looking over my shoulder the whole time, kind of like my wife does when my phone's out, I don't need that. I don't need that. Etiquette's on the lake or out the window. It's all fair game. I'll cast at your motor. MB Hensley said, yeah, that's the way it is right now. You're 100% right. But I get it. Well, I don't even get it in a tournament. But like if you're just pre-fishing, you know what I'm saying. Do we expect the fishing to fire up during or after this full moon? Bobby wants to know. Well, I can tell you what the deer forecast said. We get these little deer forecasts based, and they try to predict movement based upon the moon phase and all that. I can tell you that just going on that yesterday and today, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, because the moon was a new moon and now it's coming out, those were the best 3 days, and now we lose a little mark each day going for the rest of the week. So according to the guys with the deer hunting and all that, deer sightings should be less this week. It's not going to be as good to hunt. With fish, I don't know. You guys, smarter guys than me, would have to be able to, to say that, let me know that on fishing. So you just got to be out there on the water. I would imagine, listen, they still got to eat. It might change their feeding windows, possibly. Let's see. We forgot the boat keys and had to drive 40 minutes back to the house. Good grief, that stinks. I'll be deer hunting this weekend, but fishing next weekend. I'll be hunting Saturday. Alex says that's exactly what happened, what I described to you guys on Lanier. Now that I know where he's at, now and I know the club that's fishing it, I'll be able to find him the name of the guy on the boat because the boat has some distinct patterns on the side of the boat. So we might be having a discussion tonight on boat etiquette. We shouldn't call nobody out, but we might be making a phone call. Who knows? Maybe the ghost is bending up all them Zoom flukes in the packages. Well, we're going to talk about soft plastics, and that's one of the reasons right there with the Zoom flukes that we're going to talk about it, because I had a conversation with a guy yesterday, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Wasn't what I planned on talking about today, but we're going to. What's worse, the ghost or the woman from the gas station down the road? Tomato. Now, listen, they're very nice. I do have that one old lady that comes in here and she scares me. She's scared. There is a local in the Marble Hill area, and she will come in I kicked her out the last time. And then she came back with her son last week. But this woman comes in, and she's got to be in her 70s. She's medicated, but she'll ask to use the bathroom, and I'll say yes. She'll go into the bathroom, and then she'll dig through the trash, and she'll bring back all the toilet paper rolls, all the empty toilet paper rolls, and she wants them. And then she comes up here, and she wants, every free sticker that we give away, she wants them. And then she gets all the free DNR, like fishing regulations, and then she'll ask me for a hat, and then she'll sit there, and she just look at me, and she's got these like eyes that are staring right through me like she's trying to read my mind. But if she read my mind, she'd get up and leave, because she's like one of the few people that come in here that I'm like, I got stuff to do. Most of the time, if you come in the shop, I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll talk to you for 5 straight hours. 5 straight hours, I'll talk to you. But this woman scares me a little bit. And she always talks about fishing in Hawaii. I don't know. But last time she was here, I had a customer, and she goes off on this tirade that I cannot repeat to you guys. And you guys know I will go to the edge on things that I can say. I'm telling you what, I would not repeat. Bobby Cox would be embarrassed to repeat the words that came out of this woman's mouth. And I said, ma'am, look, I got a customer right here. you're going to have to go. So she grabbed all the toilet paper rolls and all that, which says I don't take the trash out in there as often as I should. And she heads on out the door. That was like a year ago. Well, about a week and a half ago, she sticks her head. This big guy walks in the door. It's her son. He lives in Hawaii. She sticks her head in the door and she goes, "Can I come in?" And I'm like, well, she's with her son, so I'm safe there. There's no voodoo or witchcraft going to happen, I don't think. But that woman scares me. Oh Lord, she scares me. Didn't mean to go off on that tangent, but good Lord, I'm telling you what. I don't know what she's making with all the toilet paper rolls. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. She collects used toilet paper rolls. When I buy flukes, I boil them to loosen them up and straighten the tail. So we'll talk about that. Listen, let's get on our main topic today. And this woman sounds sexy. No, man. No, I mean, I don't want to make fun of this old lady no more than that. And I'm not trying to make fun of her. She scares me, dude. So like it could have been her that one day that came up here walking around and then she just flew out of here. I don't know. Just reminds me of some kind of Blair Witch kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? All right. So Alex said it took me almost 15 minutes to get there from the dock. Went for a round where they were fishing. They said where I was headed, pointing to it, and pulled the trolling motor off, and they went. Okay, so they just beat them there. We're going to talk about it tonight. We'll talk about it all tonight. But anyway, so I had a guy in here, and we were talking about soft plastics. And we were talking about Marble Hill Bigfoot. She ain't a big person, alcoholic. She's not big. But, I mean, I can just see her. She's got a voodoo doll or something of me or a cauldron, and she's just stirring it all up, doing that. And that, that's probably why I've had a headache for like the last year or something. I probably got a curse on me. I don't know. Probably do. And that might be what she's using the toilet paper rolls for. I don't know. Maybe it's in that cauldron boiling for some reason. But anyway, this guy came in here yesterday and we were talking about soft plastics. And I was telling him that my goal for the store is to start bringing in a lot of the smaller mom and pop companies and individuals that like to pour their own plastics and the mid-sized companies and down. And I'm sitting there actually before the show. I mean, they're trying to make orders as to what I want to get in here. And it's not that I don't like the major companies. I do. But to me, I think you get a better product. Be careful, Danny. That lady may be doing some voodoo on that toilet paper rolls. And that's why you guys are getting the spigots. I know, right? Listen, I'm serious. I mean, she takes the rolls and puts them in her ear to hear all that I'm talking about her. So you guys are stuck on the old lady. And I'm trying to get off the old lady and talk about something seriously. Danny, Cross Bait Company. Cross Bait Co. would love to work with you. Hey, buddy, do this. If you will, if you got something to write with, but it's very easy. If you'll email me, because my name's Danny, email me, Danny@fngo.com. fngo.com. I'd love to see what you got. She's watching you on Facebook. Listen, you guys, I messed you guys up talking about this old woman. It throws me. Oh, you guys are talking about that stuff up there. So anyway, yeah, she's. Oh man, I need to stop. If we were not on Facebook or all that stuff right now, I'd tell you a lot more. I'd tell you what she said. And if I told you what she said, you think the comments are going crazy now. You'll have to come in the store and I'll tell you about what she said. But anyway, so we're talking about these smaller companies. And I think number one, you get better product. I think you get better service. How are the Eastern turkey hunts in Georgia? They've made it down. And this is where we go. I think you can only kill 2 this coming up year. I think they lowered it and they shortened the season. And I haven't heard a lot of goblins. So I think the turkey hunting in Georgia, maybe down south, but up here in the north part is not as good as it used to be. Can we have that kind of lady do a blast off at the Toys for Tots? We'll see. We'll see. You guys might have to pay her in toilet paper rolls. What's up, Tiny Tines? But anyway, back to the plastics. You guys are killing me. It's not me. It's who I hang out with, right? And so me and that gentleman got to talking about the plastics. And again, I told him my opinions. And he's like, he thinks you should only buy name brand. He thinks these smaller companies are a waste of time. Because for various reasons. The various reasons, and one of his reasons is inferior plastics. They don't know they don't know how to put things together. He thinks it's a quality issue. And I totally disagree. I think some of the best stuff I've ever had in my hands was made by a guy in his garage. Honestly, I have. I'm actually, yes, 4-7 Lures, Stephen. It's funny you said that. I'm writing down all the stuff that I want to order from them. Actually was doing it before the show today. Finally got a doe, and it was not a baby. Good job, Tiny Tines. Good job. Get you some backstrap right there, baby. Go ahead and cook it. So we got in this argument, not an argument, we got into this discussion. Okay. We got in this discussion. I was like, I disagreed with him a lot. And I used Zoom as a perfect example. Now, the only time I argue about Zoom stuff is their flukes. Because I don't know who does the packing for Zoom, but they never get the fluke straight. Now, we did have one gentleman said there's not enough, whatever they put on it, lubrication to get it down in there. But regardless, to me, big companies hire people. Those people are the same people that work on Mondays and Fridays. And you guys all know how we feel on a Monday and on a Friday. Kind of like cars. Friday afternoon, guy's thinking about getting his paycheck and taking his woman out to the daggum Sizzler or something. And he don't care about those worms that day. I kind of went back with that saying, hey, listen, smaller companies take pride in putting their stuff because, they've got less room for error. And so we went back and forth. So Fish Stalker Lures would like to be in the shop. Messick, hit me up. Now, listen, Doug, we're back on that old woman. Doug said it sounds like his mother-in-law. Dude, you don't want this woman for your mother-in-law. So what do you guys think? That's kind of the conversation when it comes to, just soft plastics. We're not talking about custom painted lures and just plastics. I know like Alex likes tactical. We're going to have tactical in the shop. I know John Aldred, he likes several companies. I know Magnum was one that he got in there. We had that gentleman, both Andrew Blair and the gentleman from Magnum on the podcast, and I'd like to have them in the shop. Different companies that you don't hear a lot about around here. But if you go into a store and you see some Zoom flukes, and listen, I'm saying Zoom just because that's the name. Any name brand, Strike King, whatever. But you see a package of their stuff. And then you see an individual's, and it may have a little small company name, but it's a small person. And they're right there together, and they're comparably priced. What do you buy? What do you buy? I tend to buy the smaller guys. Now, one thing the smaller guys don't have is the amount of colors that some of the bigger companies do. But I tend to buy the small ones because I think they work just as well. I think that I'm supporting somebody smaller, and we should support the other companies too. I mean, but that's just my mentality. What's your mentality? Cast is the best quality plastic I've ever used. They're Echo specifically. Cast is good. Cast does use a good product. Cast doesn't make worms, though. So as far as swim baits, yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that, Coleman. I'd love to see them come out with some plastic worms, something like that. I've never had an issue with the Zoom flukes. I have had some Yamamoto scope shads with wonky tails. Yeah, Casey, I mean, and listen, I'm not saying it's every package of Zoom at all. Traveling Fisherman says, I try it all. Always like checking out new companies, as you should. I think variety is the spice of life, right? In everything but marriage. You guys remember that. But occasionally it does happen. And, you'll see guys, you watch social media when the fluke bite right before it starts. Somebody will always post a video about how to soften their fluke style baits, and it always involves boiling water. They'll boil them, and some guys boil them for a little bit longer than others, but a lot of people boil them. Excuse me. I don't think you should have to boil anything right out of the box just to get it to work, to get it to be straight. Now, Yamamoto, I've never had a problem with any of the Yamamoto products as far as the packaging. I can't, but reality with the Yamamoto, I use Senkos. They're pretty much always put in straight. I'll use their, twin tail grubs. For the most part, they're pretty much straight, and they're so soft, it's kind of hard for them to like bend and get stiff. Small companies make some great soft plastics, but it's always good to remember much of it is trial and error. See, Colton, that was my thing. That's kind of why I'm throwing this out there. Yeah, of course they've got to win your business. I'm just wanting to know, how willing are you to try? If you go into a store and you got both options right there, do you go with just a name brand that you know, or do you go with company X who's new, but side by side you look at their products and they look exactly the same? Just what's your mentality? Because I know a lot of guys, they're very NASCAR-ish. The fishing industry is very much like NASCAR. A lot of guys are brand loyal. Their grandpa used this company. Their dad used this company. I'm going to use this company. Variety be damned. That's just the way it is. Or whoever their favorite professional angler is, they're going to use that company. And sometimes I think they often overlook smaller companies. Totally agree. Small companies are trying hard to make a name for themselves. They know what they are up against and will try almost anything to set themselves apart. I agree with that. And I will tell you this. For the most part, when you get a small company, you can call up the owner if you got a problem with something that they're selling. Even with Cast, you can get Ryan on the phone. And he will, or you can leave him a message, hit him he will answer you back. I think you get a lot of that with smaller companies. The only downside to smaller companies, and I've experienced this, is I know some companies that make fantastic stuff. When you have situations, of course, like we did with the pandemic and COVID and things got hard to get, it seems like the small guys suffer the most. So hopefully we won't have to deal with that. But I know some of them guys that take off the entire month of November because it's deer season and the rut's kicking where they hunt. So you better get your orders in and get them delivered around about the beginning of October, because you're not going to see them for a couple months. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that is something that happens. And you guys know that in every industry. There's always a heating and air man or a plumber or something like that, or even, a grade or whatever. They're self-employed. And if they hunt, you can dang well bet that there's going to have some time in October, November each year where they're not going to worry about it. Danny says, no worries here. I don't hunt. I'm not saying, Danny, it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it is something that you got to be cognizant of when ordering. Let's see what you guys are saying. With the trick worms, the Softy brand seems to be more durable than the Zoom to me. That lady pours those things in her basement. And she's got a setup. Her husband had the setup before he passed away, and she keeps going. She keeps going with it, and they're a good product. Jeremy Conkright says, I'm 50-50 on custom plastics. For every custom guy, there's 3 other guys that their plastics just suck. And that's true, Jeremy. My email is Danny, just like yours, at fngo.com. Danny at fngo.com. Make sure you put that .com on there. I get that, Jeremy. Now that's always a possibility. That's always a possibility. But if you can find the right one, man, them guys are good. Them guys are really, really good. I'll be honest with you. And I know he's my buddy and all that, but I throw Underwood's flukes, or however they're allowed to be called. I don't know if Fluke is patented or whatever, but his Fluke style baits, he just came out with his 3rd color, and he makes a big one and he makes a little one. And I do like the color that I use. I haven't thrown the one with the silver glitter, and he just came out with one that's got gold glitter all in it. I haven't thrown that. I know the gold one that he just dropped was what he won Chattooga on. Or not won. He took 2nd place at the no weight tournament last weekend. And he was throwing a fluke that he poured that has, when I say gold flake, it's almost like almost kind of like a lamp, like the bottom half of it's got all this gold flake in it. And I like them. Aquaholic says, I've been catching them on a bubble gum fluke. That's interesting, Aquaholic, because I will not throw bubble gum or methylate any other time except for the spring. Maybe that's on me. I sell a lot of bubble gum and methylate during the springtime, But like right now, if you're throwing a bubblegum fluke, I can't remember the last time I sold a pack of bubblegum. So there you go. Maybe we should be throwing it. If it's not a tournament, I'm willing to try new things, Coleman says. I pretty much use any brand at least once. I don't like the Berkeley flukes. I don't like them either. I don't like them. It's kind of like that Max scent kind of stuff. I don't like that. Bright colors post spawn for me, Bobby said. Yeah, that's generally when right there. Late spring, I ran out of white and had some bubble gum. So you just threw it on there and you're catching fish. Maybe the fish are just in that mood, right? Yeah, I've tried a lot of brands. But see, I love the Berkeley Max scent hitworm. I absolutely love the hitworm. But their fluke style bait, I listen, if I had some, I'd give them to you for free. Have you ever tried to put flukes into a bag straight? Some days it ain't so easy. No, you're 100%, Stephen, you're right. But also, I don't get paid to do it. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't get paid to put fluke. If my job requirements, if my job description is to package up soft plastic straight, then that's what it should be. But I agree with you. It ain't easy. That's why I don't do it. We bought some worms. Listen, we bought some worms for Softy because I can get them to pour me custom colors. And, I have to buy them in bulk. I've done it before. And we decided we were going to do that. It's been about 4 years ago we did it. And I will say this, I'll be 100% honest. I am very OCD when it comes to the worms being in there. And I did that and it was awful. It was awful. No, I would not want to do it. Was not worth the money to me as far as the time and effort for me to sell that. So when guys would come in here, I just, here, you want 20 of them? And we would just put them in a bag for them. Softy worms are my favorite finesse worms. They'll last several years, 100%. Walking in the store and being able to get them in your hand and buying online, looking at pictures is a big difference too. Now that I agree with 100%. Let's see. Coker says he's got a definite change in his style of fluke. This one is much better than the average fluke. I think he's talking about Underwoods. Bubblegum is on fire on Russell in March. See, back to the spring. I would love to try more small companies, but it's hard to find them in most stores, which is why I'm changing up this store. I want to do it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still going to carry Zoom. I'll still carry some of the big companies, but I want to have a bunch of the smaller companies like that. I love Zoom, but I will buy the small plastic companies too. Yeah. And listen, I don't think you can beat the Zoom trick worm for trick worm style baits. And I find that their mag shaky head worm is hard to beat. Hard to beat. I just don't know why. And their flukes, they got great colors. Some of them are absolutely awesome. But I live off the Zoom trick worm. Let's see. Emil, we're talking about Emil Wagner, won Champlain on the Berkeley Jerk Shad. Is just magic. Let's see. Let me see this. Zoom centipede is hard to beat. Let me read this again from Coleman. Sometimes you guys, I should honestly take the time to read it before I say it. And sometimes it just doesn't come out right. Emil won Champagne on the Berkeley Jerk Shad. His just magically had wings and was somehow made in Japan. I'll have to ask him. Kevin Thornton, Father Time. The issue with trying a new item from a small company is if it's not to our liking, then we have another bag that will collect dust. I get it. That is a risk you take, for sure. That is a risk, 100%. But I mean, listen, Kevin, some guys will go into a store and they'll buy 25 bags or something, and you know how it is. Some of them bags will sit on guys' walls on their pegboard or in their boat, and they'll never even open it up. So it's kind of like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Sometimes it's best to have a recommendation maybe from somebody that's used it before. I don't know. Let's see. Softy has some great worms. Leave a Z-Man soft plastic in the bed of your truck in the sun. I know exactly where you're going with that. No. Now, Jeremy also says, or when it all happens, let's see, it's back on his other comment. When it all happens, are you going to put them on your website? Oh, if and when, yes. Yeah, every company that I bring in here, I'm trying to do it hit and miss here and there when I can. I'm pulling products I got on the website off, and I'm getting ready to kind of design the storefront. And yes, it will happen. If I bring in a small company, as long as they can keep up. Now, that is one thing that you also, if you sell online and you do sell a small company's baits, they have to be able to keep up if you have to replace the order. I've had situations where a guy will tell me, "Hey, listen, I'm not going to get the Plastisol for that for another month or so like that." And it kind of causes a little bit of a headache sometimes. Also, too, you know, you buy generally when you order from companies, you buy in 6s or 12s. Some companies will let you buy 3, but generally 6s and 12s. So if you get a really hot item from a small company, let's say you get 12 packs, and I mean, one guy could come in here and buy 6 packs of them, and then you're down to 6, boom, you have them gone quick. You got to be able to call up and say, "Hey, man, I sold those fast," especially if you sell online. Can you re-up me? And as long as they can re-up you, then you're okay. But there has been times where there's been a company or two that I stopped carrying in the store because we sold them online that I always had to have out of stock because they couldn't get them to me. Is that a problem with Zoom and all that? No. Or bigger companies. Again, I shouldn't just say Zoom. But they are they're the standard, right? I sound like I'm picking on Zoom and I'm not. But occasionally a big company, like the company I just said that I wasn't picking on, will put out a color and they won't run that color for 6 months because they have so many other colors. And so if you get a hot color or you get a color that one guy and I'm just going to take motor oil, for example. Now, I haven't had problems with the color motor oil. I'm just using it for example. Motor oil seems to be very much liked by the older generation of anglers that fish Lanier Allatoona. I never have a young guy, and when I say young guy, 30 and under, I can't think of a young guy that's ever come in here and asked if I carried Zoom motor oil. I can tell you that plenty of them, ages 60 to 40, have come in. But let's just say take motor oil that, is not like green pumpkin they're going to run every daggum week, maybe every day. But motor oil is on the fringe out there of not being the most popular. So they may run a batch of it. They may run 20,000 worms, but then they're not going to run that color again for 6 more months. There was a green color that they carried that I had a guy that wanted it, and I couldn't get it. Steve Pinkston says, "I got plenty of everything." He probably does. Let's see. 5 Spotted Bass is here. Z-Man Plastics have their place, just not in my boat. John Aldridge says, "I just gave away all the tackle I end up not using to new anglers. So I don't mind trying new stuff from smaller companies. Sometimes you find one that's awesome, like the Magnum bait stuff that he's been using. And you guys can go back and watch that podcast and all that. John, what's that gentleman's name? You know how I am with names. But it's something that you don't see a lot around here. That's why I'm wanting to bring them in here. I mean, when you're throwing 10-inch Senkos, hey, them big glide bait guys, them guys like throw them big baits, and then everyone show themselves. A lot of them guys like to follow it up with something. And the average guy like me will throw just a regular old 5-inch Senko. Well, these guys from out west, they'll throw a 10-inch Senko in there. Something really big. The bass has already shown its interest in a big bait, so why not give them a different thing? Nick O3, what do you think the best glide bait for a pond would be? Nick, hang right there. Jeremiah, John Aldridge. I got a gentleman on TikTok that wants to know what's the best glide bait for a pond. I can tell you that John Aldridge probably will tell you some kind of Buka bullshad style bait, but I want to make sure before I tell you that. But what is a good glide bait for a pond? Jeremiah, John Aldridge, and anybody else that throws glide baits over there on YouTube land want to think about that on a pond. What would you guys do? Maybe put a custom section on your website and put a note about it being custom. Yeah, that's a thought. Are express boats any good? Got some money saved up and going to look at one? Yes. I know that my cousin just got one and he loves it. An empty spot on the pegboard an empty spot on pegboard that you're waiting on doesn't make the store any money. That's true. That's true for sure. Jeremiah, I decided to get another kayak this year when they go and sell, but I got nowhere to put it. You'll figure it out. The express boats that Jeremiah's been in have been awesome. Jeremy Conkright, Made me think about my grandfather and his grape jelly worm. Sure. Now, right here, okay. Right now, the best glide bait, John G. Wilson said, for a pond is a Buka trick shad. A Buka trick shad. Jeremy Conkright says bluegill style bait jackal gantrail. John Aldridge said budget glide. He likes the Buka trick shad and the Spro Chad shad. Not budget friendly. I love the bull shad trick gill. So there's you some options right there. John G says a 6-inch Buka trick shad for a pond. And there you go. And guys, if you go to Danny, if you go to Crossbait, I guess it's crossbaitco.com. Use TikTok Live right now for 20% off while I'm live, which means you got a little time. So Crossbait, go out, pull them up on your phone while you listen to me on your computer and all that. But again, so there's a lot of things that that's kind of going back and forth when it comes to the soft plastics and the companies. Now you're welcome. Holden Cone, do you ever fish Lake Kiowee? I don't, but I got a couple guys that are on my nighttime show that will be on tonight that they fish it. So if you really want to know, come back tonight at 8 if you want to know some juice on Kiowee, because they know it. I don't get to fish it near enough. I would not be able to give you an educated answer at all on that, but they could. Coleman Jones says he does. So, okay, how about this? I got a couple guys holding on YouTube on this side. What do you want to know about Kiowee? If you got a question, I'll throw it out to these guys over here and see if we can get an answer for you. Tracy Coker, I learned about Z-Man the hard way. I learned about the hard way too, for sure. But that's the thing. That is the thing with the soft plastics and the argument is that you know what you're going to get from a big company, so you don't have to worry about it. Or is it just something different, something harder to get that you can get from a small custom company? You see what I'm saying? Some awesome inflatable kayaks available that could help with the storage options. Yeah, I mean I guess you're talking about storage for baits. Anybody got any stuff on Kiowee? Still comment, throw me out there. Just give me something on Kiowee. Either way, I don't know which way to go with that. I don't know. I find how like some guys just will not give a custom small guy the option. On the flip side, I find that there are guys that don't want to use the name brand for anything. So I was very interested in kind of wondering, where you guys were landing. I know a guy that companies and a lot of guys on Lanier throw a chartreuse fluke. Whether it's the wing fluke or a regular fluke, they'll throw a pure chartreuse fluke. But a lot of the tackle stores, they're gone as soon as they get, get in stock, and sometimes they go to the company owners. So I had a local guy here pour up some chartreuse flukes. They're winged. They look great. They look fantastic. I had guys come in and go, "Who made these?" And I'll tell them, and they're like, "Yeah, I'll wait for the Zoom." And I'm just kind of like, Now, if you're talking about Kiowee Holden Coleman says it's just something he's thrown out there. I guess you want to know what to do. Buzzbait shallow till 9 a.m. Then I would put down a small minnow or top water the rest of the day. If you have scope, if not, maybe a shaky head and a prayer. There you go. If your rod strap breaks, just tie a Z-Man Senko from one side to the other. Hey, listen. I get it, and I got something to say on that. Let me read these last two comments. My biggest problem with small bait companies is availability. Personally, I don't like waiting a week for a few packs or something, and I'm paying top dollar and $10 for shipping. I get that. Excuse me. Finally getting the ball rolling for Kennesaw Bass Team. Wyatt Richards from Pickens has been a huge help. He's already got a sponsor at the school lined up. Good for you guys. And Greg said he fished Kiowee Wednesday and Saturday last week. Fish were in the bait balls and early with buzz baits. Yeah, I get that. I get that for sure what you're saying, Colton. And that is a situation. Now, Tracy Coker, you're talking about being able to use your soft plastics for something different. I have those hide up swim baits from it's the company Spro brought in, and you guys know the Judy fish they just put out, but this is their other paddle tail. I forgot in our I got an older 17.5-foot Triton. That's my electric rig. And I always forget to put my plug thing back in for the live well. Well, I've used bubble gum before, but also if you take one of the big ones and you cut it at the right angle, you can stuff your live well with that soft plastic, and it will hold water the entire tournament. I know. I've done it. Let's see. Kiwi is a herring lake. Does Kiwi have herring? Yes, yes. And you're talking about a inflatable kayak might be easier to store. Maybe y'all were talking about it in the conversation up there. I don't know how the inflatable kayak came up, so I'm totally lost on that one. But so that's what I was just thinking. I mean, are you guys the same way with? I want to talk soft plastics, but you guys the same way with things like spinner baits? Would you rather buy a War Eagle or a smaller company? Is it the same way? Would you rather buy a rock crawler or a rock crawler knockoff with a custom paint job? Or does it even matter? Does it even matter? I personally, I'll say this when it comes to like the rock crawler and the rock crawler knockoffs and all that, I'm going to buy the rock crawler every time. Number one, because I know the hooks and the split rings and all that, the quality that Spro puts into those. So that right there is one that I will say I could go in the store and see a Spro rock crawler here and a rock crawler knockoff. I'll buy the Spro. But I'm more apt to do that with hard baits than I am soft plastics. I am much more apt to give the small company the benefit of the doubt or the try on the soft plastics. I don't think the fish give a shit. Listen, you might be right. But in my mind, it's like, I will say this, like in my mind, if I'm throwing a custom painted job and I don't know what kind of hooks I got on it and all that, it is in my mind. So yeah, maybe it's just me. Buka brand is available pretty much everywhere, even Academy Sports. They are the ABS plastic versions of the bull shad swim baits, built by GSM Outdoors to Mike Buka's specs, and they're a good looking bait. They're a good looking bait. Spinner baits are different. You can switch up the wire size. Yeah, that might be it. Anyone have any tips for fishing Lake of the Ozarks and Table Rock as a bank angler? I tell you what, traveling fisherman, I need to get Ken Pruitt. In touch with you. He could help you out with that for sure. That's where you're at. Drew Cook's too far back to win NPFL AOY. So Kyle's going to do it again. Is that what? I haven't kept up with it today at all, or looked at it. So I need to look at it. If you think that's crazy, you don't even want to think about the big swim bait. Small bait makers come out in batches, and it's first come, first serve. You may wait years to get one, and it'll be $300. Buka glides are the best. I definitely prefer the jackhammer over other chatterbaits, but also I haven't thrown that Spro yet. You need to. Bull shad, trick shad are resin baits, hand built at their shop in Ackworth. There is a difference, and you can tell. But both of them are good, whether you get the ABS or that. What's up, FaZe Fishing? Festive Water Paddle Sports for all your kayak needs. I'm on their fishing team. We like the guys over at Festive. They're good dudes. Greg says, yep, Jockassie is awesome. State record smallmouth, spotted bass, and red-eye bass. Oh, Joe Cassie. I always say Jockassie. Joe Cassie. Hard baits 100% matters because there is crap knockoff blanks. See, that's what I'm saying. Now, when it comes to a hard bait, I will buy the name brand. Some of them, not all of them. I've thrown so many different chatters. Still nothing compares to the jackhammer, in my opinion. Spro has one. Cover jumper. Ain't got as many color options, but I'm telling you, it will start up every bit as quick as the jackhammer, and it's got a better hook. I promise you, you'll actually like it. You'll like it. Welchers and Walters. That's what you're saying over there. Festive Waters. Boy, you guys are all over the place. Definitely, well, check it out. Honestly, check it out. It's a good one. You guys are like going so crazy over there in your own conversations on YouTube that I'm lost with some of them. But I mean, I didn't expect to talk about hard baits or glides. I just want to know what you guys thought when it comes to, and I put what's your favorite soft plastics as far as companies and brands and stuff like that. But I really wanted to gauge your opinion. kind of gauge your opinion on when you go somewhere. Now, if you come into a store and it's all custom, small batch stuff, then you ain't got a choice. But like if you walked into a Bass Pro Shop and they ever carried small stuff, this is what you're thinking would be. If I ever pay over $40 for a bait, it better come with a lifetime replacement warranty. Well, Tracy, unfortunately, my man, we know that that's not the way it works. But maybe you can try like that guy did with me with the rod. When he dropped his rod overboard and he called me up and wanted to see if I would warranty it. Maybe if you throw it off or get it hung, you could call up the company and say, hey, I lost my bait X. Would you warranty it? I don't know. It's just things like that. So anyway, do I have any of the Pro chatterbaits at the shop yet? No. Tracy, I've got a table with 10 baits laying on it that's worth over $1,000. $1,000. I do not. I am not an expensive bait guy myself. I have gotten some stuff that was given to me that is expensive. But I think the most expensive bait I have ever personally bought, now not for the store, but the most expensive bait I have ever bought would probably be about maybe $19, $20. I've never spent over $20 on a particular bait. And that's why I don't throw those glides and stuff. Now, given that we have an arrangement with Spro here, I'll probably get some of the Chad Shads and stuff now that I got the rod and all to throw that stuff. But no, I don't think I've ever. The Buka stuff that I got, the Chad Shad is worth the money. Mason Roach says, yeah, I agree with that. The Buka stuff that I got is probably because it was sitting on my wall over there to be sold. And I'm like, I wonder if that'd work tomorrow. That $225 swim bait I have sees more time at the house than I do. Yeah. A tungsten A-rig setup that I broke off was my most expensive. What is the most expensive bait you guys have ever lost? What is the most expensive bait you personally have ever lost? And how much was it? But the Chad Shad balance is great and don't really need to add weights and everything. That's good to know right there. John already said, I've got a few $170 baits, but haven't gotten into the really expensive baits that are only available on a custom drop. And John wants to know, why are they so expensive? Is it because they're handmade? For the most part. Now, Cam says the Magic Swimmer is my most expensive bait because I have a tendency of casting for squirrels, as do I. As do I, my man. But, seriously, what's the most expensive one you ever lost? Now, an A-rig is mentioned up there. Tyler says A-rig runs up some dollars quick. Yeah, they do. Jeremiah says, I've had a Roman-made Mother Glide before. The thing by itself is $500, but you need a telephone pole to throw it, a 12-inch, 11-ounce bait. Highly sought after, but not cheap and not fun. Now, Jandon Smith said he lost a $135 swim bait. Mason said he lost a Clutch OG swim bait, $200. Lost a 225 Phony Glide, 5 casts after getting it out of the mailbox. 5 casts. I said castes. Man, I took speech in elementary. I'm going back. I'm regressing. Let me read that again. I lost a $225 Phony Glide, 5 casts after getting it out of the mailbox. That's better. I've launched a couple of the $40 glides over the horizon, but none of the expensive ones. Most expensive one I lost last week was a $40 6-cent draw that I found hanging in a tree. You lost that one? You found it in the tree? That's funny. Patricia says you guys need full coverage insurance on them baits. Yeah. Justin Ortiz says that's a giant bait, an 11-ounce for sure. And then John Oliver said, yes, they're handmade and tuned, plus all the research and development involved in designing new baits. I know a guy, I watched him tie on one of the expensive A-rigs. And he put on tungsten heads. And he probably had Kitech. See you later, traveling fisherman. Appreciate you stopping by. And he probably had some kind of Kitech bait on. But all in all, he probably had $40, $50 in this rig. And he tied it on, got everything right, went to go cut his tagline off. He just took out his scissors. He went, boom, and he cut it. That thing dropped straight down in the water and gone. He never cast it one time. Not one time. So John G said, "Yeah, I lost my freebie. If you guys didn't know, he found he was fishing last week, I think it was, and he found a glide and a couple other baits in a tree in a limb. He got them all, and now he's lost his glide that he found. That bait just is not meant to be fished with. I think. Don't you think that's about the way that says after that? Let me fix my TikTok guys here. Casey said $40 max fishing microglide to a giant carp. You had a carp hit a glide bait, or did you accidentally hook him? Come on, phone. There we go. I'm not one to throw expensive baits. I'm just not going to do it. Maybe I should, but I don't make y'all's kind of money yet. I saw where G Money's old lady made a video of her pranking him by tying a knot in his line so the lure flew off. She did it with a cheap setup, but one of their followers did the same thing to her husband. Yeah, listen, that'll turn into a fight. But they did it to a $150 glide bait. That is wrong. Messick said that bait was just bad luck to lose it twice for sure. Let's see, trying to catch up with you guys. Issue is when you lose those baits, you can't get another one for several months to years at a time. Listen, if you got a bait that you can't replace within a year or so, put it on the mantle. Put it on the mantle. I'm not throwing that at all. Lost too many mega bass jerk baits this spring. That's $25, right? Somewhere in that area. It's crazy. That is one of the things I'm telling you guys. These ARC, I'm telling you, the ARC jerk baits. You can buy 2 or 3 of them for the price of a mega bass, and I'm telling you, just all I can say is I'm telling you, you just need to try them. I've caught some big ones on it while I had it. Made me fall in love with the big swim baits. Now Casey said that carp hit it, not a grass carp, but a common carp. I'd like to use the Geico lizard to fish with. Yeah. Would you nose hook him? How if you were fishing with the Geico lizard, what would your setup be? What would your setup be if you were fishing with the Geico lizard? Would you go with the nose hook? Would you go weightless under a bobber? Would you throw them on the bottom with weight? You looking for grass or rock? If you had one Geico lizard, how would you do it? Jeremiah, between Swimbait Underground, Swimbait Universe, and the 50 other swimbait groups, you can find about anything pretty quick. For sure. Well, I say for sure. I don't know. I have Rick Clun chunks and FLW chunks that'll never see the water. Do you? Let me ask you this: do you buy some baits like that and put up knowing that you're never going to use them? Kind of like, I don't know. Back in NASCAR, you used to buy the little die-cast number 3s when Earnhardt was alive, and you put them up. Hopefully, it'd be a collector item. Do you do that with any of your fishing stuff like that? I do not. I'm just curious. I'm trying to read you guys' minds today. Most expensive bait that I have ever lost was $36. I just buy those real expensive baits. Yeah, listen, for sure. Texas rig that Geico lizard. Okay, so if you're going to fish with the Geico lizard, we've got one guy that says Texas rig it. Messick says, yep, I like collecting old lures. They tell a story, for sure. Now, he's not in the chat today, but old Tim Hancock's got some old ones. He's got a lot of old ones. Bill Payne collects, and I want to say, and I forget, he mentioned it on our podcast, very first one I ever did with him. Is it the good grief, Little Big Crankbaits, and I forget which one they are. But he has a ton of them. Some have never been used. He just always bought them, and I can't remember what they were. But I don't know, Texas rig, that might be it. Do you ever use soft plastic lizards, Jack Butler? See, that's an interesting question. Lizards used to be sexy, right? I mean, when I grew up farm pond fishing, I threw a lizard all the time. Oh, Tim is listening. Yes, I do. He's got a bunch of old ones. I used to throw a lizard a lot. And I will say, just based upon sales, especially here in North Georgia, maybe it's because we got more spotted bass. Maybe it's different in Texas or Florida. The lizards do not sell like they used to. Here's your exceptions. If a guy likes to throw a Carolina rig, a lot of them still using lizards, but it's like the 4-inch zoom watermelon red. They're very specific. I threw a lizard in a tournament at a couple of fish that were love making, and couldn't get them to bite on anything else. And I did catch the buck off a lizard. That's the only thing I had left that he would, to throw. How's it going, LP5 Patriot? Hey, I got to ask you a question while you're here. You guys throw a lot of lizards still in Texas? Like the old 6-inch, just regular old Zoom lizard or anything like that? Lizards in the spring are serious for sure, but a lot of guys don't throw it. Not like any, listen, there are a couple guys that throw lizards on Lake Lanier, and they do very well. Now, LP5 Patriot says, yes, all of spring, and that makes sense. The 4-inch, say the 4-inch, and the farm pond I grew up on, if you threw a big Texas rig lizard, you could get bit all the time. But again, we're talking 2-acre pond, so it was small. Carolina rig lizard slays spawning spots. Yeah. And Tim Hancock says, I can't figure out how I've managed to catch almost 200 bass over 5 pounds on big swims and glides and never spent more than $34 for a lure. And that's true. He's been on the show several times. And he's not going to spend a ton of money on them. Lizards and baby brush hog, watermelon candy zoom. There you go. Well, even baby brush hogs. Brush hogs used to be really hot. Don't sell a lot of them. It seems like the guys that buy a brush hog, very specific use and not a year-round thing. Kevin Thornton says he uses an 8-inch lizard for a Carolina rig. Yeah. Wade fishing growing up, a 4-inch lizard is all I ever took. FCP Outdoors kills with lizards on Lanier. I've been trying to tell people lizards work, but nobody, Dana does, but nobody wants to buy them. They'll look at you, honestly, and they're like, you're crazy. I'm like, no. Y'all remember we talked about it last week. The fish just didn't all of a sudden decide in their, DNA makeup that they're not going to hit lizards anymore. They didn't just decide that they're not going to hit a jitterbug at night anymore. You know what I'm saying? They just didn't decide that, hey, that bait was hot in the 80s. I'm not going to hit it anymore. We as anglers change. We're the ones that actually change things. And yeah, you might find a something that's new and it's a hot bait because they hadn't seen it for a while. But that doesn't mean they stopped hitting the old school stuff. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about tonight. Just imagine that you're on Lake Lanier or Lake Allatoona or any lake that you guys are on. And you're getting ready to go into the fall and the winter. And live scope had never been invented. That's how we're going to go the podcast tonight. As if it had never been invented. What would we do? And it's not going to be a show that is anti-forward facing sonar, because we're not anti-forward facing sonar here. We're just going to talk about what would we do if it didn't exist. And a lot of guys are going to be talking about throwing lizards. I think, all them kind of things. You'll still get guys that will throw lizards and stuff. Jigs. We'll talk about all that stuff tonight. But nobody's throwing them because they're out mintering. So, Kevin, how often do you throw a Carolina rig? Carson wants to know. Messick says, I'm going to try and get in touch with you after the show. Oh, Tim. So, Tim Hancock. I can give you Tim's number. But, yeah, he don't fish at night. He don't. He's old, man. He got to go to bed. He's AARP, man. He's in bed by 7 unless he comes up here and does a show with us. We get him a step. And once his knee gets better, I'm going to get him back up here. Are you going to include mapping in that, Danny? We might. Yeah, we might. For sure. You know how the show will go. It's like this. I have an idea what we're going to talk about, but who the hell knows where we'll end up. Them big blades, do you throw? Okay, he wants to know them big blades. Yeah, he's only a daytime guy. I didn't see that earlier comment. So now I see what Tim was responding to. Jeremiah goes, I actually like a Carolina rig with a Zoom Magnum speedworm on it. Of course, I'm fishing for largemouth, though. I've heard a chartreuse pepper lizard or ringworm on the sea rig is killer on spots. Yeah. Well, listen. The last time I threw a Carolina rig was on Lake Allatoona. It was in the Stamp Creek area on a little flat that some of the locals had told me to go throw a Carolina rig there. 4-inch Zoom, watermelon red flake lizard. And I caught fish, but I just caught spots. So I don't throw a Carolina rig that much. Now, Patricia Leanne Shaw wants to know, that any of you guys ever fished with live lizards, which I think is illegal now in the state of Georgia, or has been for some time. I don't think you can fish with spring lizards. And I don't know how long that's been. I can't. 80s? On my dad's pond, we might have caught a lizard out, one summer out there just goofing off. One of them ones with the blue tail that run around, they're everywhere. We might have fished with one or two of them. And then I remember we'd go out at night and catch some of them toads, them brown toads that come out at night and they're all over the place. But that would have been, honestly, we're talking high school, middle school, high school, since the last time I ever fished with an actual live lizard. Like I said, I can't think of it, to be honest with you. If I didn't have a scope and had to catch a fish at any lake in the U.S. to save my life, I would use a Carolina rig. And that might be something we talk about tonight. Now, Tim said if I wasn't so far away, I could do one now, but I still can't sit still to drive that far. My knee will not be happy. Plus, I've had a couple of setbacks. Well, listen, we're patient. We're very, very patient. We'll wait on you. You're worth waiting on, Tim. I've heard the spring lizards referred to as walking bombers, LOL. Yeah. I think, and you guys correct me, I don't know all the regulations like I should know, but I think fishing with spring lizards has been illegal in Georgia for quite some time. And Kevin says he throws a Carolina rig year round. I know a lot of guys that throw it year round. Bait shops back in the day used to sell live frogs, water dogs, which were salamanders, and other stuff for bait. Up north, I think they still sell leeches and eels. I'm Jeremiah on that comment. I'm thinking back. Honestly, it might be the 80s still. It might be the 80s. It's been a long time. Now, I've never bought a live frog to fish with. But seems like that little, I say convenience store, that little block building where that guy sold bait, Copenhagen, or, bait, tobacco, and Coke and moon pies, seems like we could buy salamanders there. Now, you're going to be talking 84 through 87. That's my memory of that. And I ain't 100% sure, but it seems like we could buy them then. Carson wants to know, he's asking Kevin Thornton, what condition makes you throw it over a Texas rig or a shaky head? Now, he's talking about a Carolina rig. When would you throw a Carolina rig over a Texas rig or a shaky head? I'm going to tell you my answer. Hardly ever, because I don't have no confidence in a Carolina rig. That's not saying it don't catch fish. I am not saying that. I'm just saying I don't have confidence in it. AI says lizards have been banned since at least 2020, but that's not specific. I think in Georgia it's been a lot longer than that. A lot longer than that. Now, again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think in Georgia it's been a lot longer. But I will tell you the Carolina rig that when I threw it, it was on that flat and it was during a spawn because you could cover water and you could fish it slow. But there's something about pulling that Carolina rig to me. I just feel like I'm just pulling sludge along the bottom. It's almost like using a heavy jig. I'd rather throw a 3/8 or a 1/4 ounce bass jig than I would ever throw a 1/2 ounce. Just because I don't like the feel of it. I feel like I'm just dragging leaves or something. Google says you can use lizards, but only a specific kind. I'll have to look into that. I'll find the regs. But I don't, it just seems like to me it's been a long, long time. And maybe it's just spring lizards. Maybe it's spring lizards because, people going out into the creeks and digging them up. Maybe it's to protect them. I saw an article, they're pretty pissed off up in Tennessee because some of them rock stackers killed one of them hellbenders somewhere. I think it was Tennessee. But them guys that decide to go to that for some reason, I think it's cool to stack rocks by a stream. And I don't know how it killed the salamander, but I know the hellbender, but I know it's laying there dead, and they're not happy with it. Those things are very much protected. I need to drive up to the lake to do another demo video of the big wind chime spinnerbait and the weighted big ass swim bait I recently purchased and painted. Yeah, you need to. I think there's a place in the Midwest and the North that can still use water dogs. Greg says, I got my personal best crappie while bass fishing with live spring lizards on Hartwell in the late 60s. Was at the end of a blowdown, 3 pounds, 2 ounces, ate it for dinner. Absolutely. Lizards are legal to fish with in Georgia. I don't think so. Or maybe it's just spring lizards. Maybe there's a certain type of lizard you can't. And maybe I've just been told wrong. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. Tim Hancock needs a camera person if you guys want to go help him with that video for sure. Carson, I tend to throw the Colorado rig in deeper water, whereas I throw the Texas rig or the shaky head shallow and in brush. So if he's going deep and he wants to do a worm, he's going Texas rig. Carolina rig. Makes sense. I specifically remember an old episode of the In-Fisherman TV where Al Linder was showing how to fish with water dogs on a type of bait keeper rig. Shop sold crayfish too, he showed. We'll have to look on that. We'll have to look because it seems like to me I've been told that you can't fish with lizards. But again, it might be a specific type of lizard. Maybe there's a protected lizard that we're not allowed to get. I don't know. I don't remember. So anyway, all right, guys, look, gone about an hour 20. You guys got to get back to work. I got a ton of work to do. Again, listen, tonight at 8 o'clock, I want all you guys to come back on YouTube, and we'll possibly do it on TikTok as well. But what would you throw and how would you attack these lakes right now if live scope had never been invented? Mintering is not an option as we know it today. If you want to talk about how you threw a flutter spoon 15 years ago, that's fine. Those kind of things. But like for one night, we're going to ban mintering and all that stuff. Can y'all fish with goldfish in Georgia? I don't know. I'm sure you can. I've never done it. AI says spring lizards are legal in Georgia. I'm going to have to find the regs. I'm going to get the regs out. I want to say there's something that says you can't. But anyway, you guys come back tonight at 8. If you're in the area of the shop, you guys always know you're welcome to come hang out, watch the show. Ryan Sheffield will be here. Alex and Clint will be in here with me. But that'll be tonight at 8. If you can't join us tonight at 8, come back here tomorrow. Also, tonight, I'm going to give you guys the breakdown of the Toys for Tots and how to register for it. Registration's getting ready to kick. Okay, it's getting ready to kick. It's actually going to start tomorrow. And again, guys, if you want one of these Groove Tackle big jig boxes, you better go. There's X amount coming in. And they'll be here in a couple weeks. I think they're in the port in Los Angeles. So they're just giving it a couple weeks. It's going to take 14 days to get out here, something like that. So it's very soon. All the other products are available. But that's going to go so fast that if you want one, you better go ahead and pre-order and get online and get you one spoken for already. And you won't regret it. Just ask Kevin Underwood. If you want a good, honest assessment of it, Kevin Underwood will tell you. So other than that, guys, you guys have a great rest of your day. Tomorrow will be hump day. We'll get through today. We'll power through. But you YouTube guys, I appreciate you. We'll see you tonight at 8. So y'all be good.